Include now. Brought to you by Evenbreak.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Include Now. I'm your host, Adam Hyland. So for this episode, it's going to be a really exciting conversation about inclusive leadership, allyship, and putting inclusive practice actually into action. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump straight into introducing our guests, or I should say, inviting guests to introduce themselves. Great to have you here, Jess.
Thank you.
It'd be amazing if you could just introduce yourself and quickly talk about your role now and how you got into this field.
Fab, thank you. Hey Adam.
Hey.
So I'm Jess Chu and I am the group head of diversity and inclusion at RS Group. My pronouns are she and her, and today I thought I would just describe from top to what you can see. So I have white hair that I kind of is short at the back, but I flick behind an ear on the left hand side. Green glasses, but they do look a bit darker sometimes, but they are green. I love lipstick, so I've got some coral coloured lipstick on, a white t-shirt and a black jacket over the top and a necklace. Oh, and earrings. I love a little dangly earrings. And so my role, as I said, is group head of diversity and inclusion at RS Group. And I got into the role, I've been there nearly 6 years next month, coming up 6 years. But I've been in the field of diversity and inclusion for, and I have to age this on my son, who's my eldest. So he's 12. So I've been in this field for about 14 years now. So quite a long time in the space of diversity and inclusion compared to some newbies who are coming through. And I think, part of the reason I went into this field of, I suppose it typically sits in HR or the people function. So into this field in HR was really around, it just aligned with my moral compass originally. Yeah. I think I realized that actually I had always been a project manager. That was my background. That was the bread and butter stuff. But actually I was asked to work on a project that was around getting more women into banking. And I just found this affinity, Adam, with the topic, and actually that meshing of, actually now I love what I do. Yeah. And I could align with it, and I could see how we needed to do so much more beyond what this particular project was. And I say that in inverted commas around women in banking. But everything that I learned and the people that I engaged with and that I learned from, just there was this alignment of, we need to make the place better. We need to move the dial, and we need to recognize that talent is not just in this homogenous form that we see in workplaces. And we're missing out on so much talent in workplaces. So long answer, but to get to the point, it just aligned with my moral compass.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just meeting you short while ago, you can see the enthusiasm in what you're doing, which is so needed in this space, but definitely in the world that we are currently experiencing at the moment. So pleased to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
The first segment that we do is 3 questions in 3 minutes, just to kind of get to know you a little bit more and warm up, if you like. So, first question I've got for you is...
No pressure.
I know, right? It's all good. What is your go-to book?
Go-to book. Okay. No pressure. I don't have a particular one, but probably an author that I love is Michelle Obama. Yeah. So I enjoy reading her books, but I think what I enjoy about them is her balanced view, but also just a deep-seated kindness to the world. which we're missing in today's society and today's geopolitical climate that we're in. But the book I read most recently, and forgive me, I'm probably going to say this lady's name incorrectly, but she was the CEO of PepsiCo. So Indra Nooyi, I think was her name. And it was fascinating, like just what she did for women and women of color and women in the C-suite and executive suite in big multinationals in America was amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, we've got 3 minutes, 3 questions, 3 minutes. I'm sorry.
It's good. I've read it once with your book, and I totally agree with you. It's so impactful.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
unbalanced.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. So the second question is, do you have a favourite quote?
Favorite quote. This is going to sound really, really horrible because I'm going to use the quote I tell my children every day, which is be curious and be kind. But out of the two, be kind.
Love that.
So as we walk to school in the morning, I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. And since they were little, 3 years old, we've been able to walk to school, which is great. But I say to them every morning, be kind and be curious, but out of the two, be kind.
I love that. I'm going to try and store that one in my memory bank.
Use it as much as you like.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Thank you for doing it. And the third question we have is always set by the previous guest.
Whoa.
So I have no control of this. And that question is, how do we ensure allyship is put into action at a grassroots level?
That is a good question. Allyship at a grassroots level. I think it's a couple of things, actually. I think it is we need to be present, and I think we need to do the little things consistently. Yeah, it's not about the big ticket items of stuff that's great to show and put on your social media, but actually it's the little things every day. And being there for people, I think, is the grassroots allyship. When the proverbial hits the fan, actually it's about being there, turning up, helping, listening, and then taking that in the role that I sit in and trying to implement systemic change. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, today's episode is on inclusive leadership, allyship,
Yep.
and putting those things into action. Because I think action is a really key part that sometimes missed of work flows in some organisations. Your work group spans many different countries and has to reach and engage a wide audience. How do you prioritise inclusion that you can distribute in such a large organisation?
Yeah, good question. So I think RS, we're just a little bit shy of 9,000 people. And we operate in about 25 countries, I'm going to say. So it's got a really big geographical footprint. And of course, every country has a different legislation and a different need. But I think trying to put things into action, so I sit at a group level, so I sit across those countries and say, okay, what is it as an organization, as a brand, that we want to be known for in the space of diversity and inclusion? And what is it that's important to us as a group of 9,000 plus people, just shy of 9,000, sorry, 8,000 plus people. And actually creating that strategy that says we want to focus on inclusion around women, and we want to focus on inclusion around neurodiversity and disability, and what does that mean for us, and the different protected characteristics that we want to focus on. But then in Italy, that might not work. So I can say, actually, what do you want to do in Italy? What works in Italy for what your current problems and challenges are that you're facing? And then they can go and say, actually, we want to focus on well-being or disability, but for us, we're going to focus on this kind of challenge around disability. Or we're going to focus in Germany, actually, we're going to focus on mental health because that's a challenge for us at the moment. So we create the strategy, but then we let the countries implement something that's really fit for purpose for them, so it meets the needs of their people in country. And I think for me, that's much more impactful of them embedding it and bringing it to action. And I think, Adam, it also helps us attract talent because they're seeing that we're doing something in country that works for them versus group sitting in London going, you must do this. And they're like, well, we don't have a challenge around that, or that's not a problem for us right now. So I think it's have the strategy, but then enable and empower local implementation of it in a way that is fit for them so it can come to action and be felt. Yeah.
Relatable to the local environment, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. How do we maintain the authenticity of that kind of work that we're doing?
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to maintain authenticity because there's so much that we're hearing and seeing around A, removing it, but B, also just tick a box. It's easy to go, yeah, I did that, tick a box, and who cares whether it actually was a program or a policy that was needed. I think to be authentic, often the work's unseen. There's lots of work that goes on in the D&I space that you don't see. Yeah. So whether it is thinking about the wording of a job advert, whether it is, policy, systemic change in process, whether it's about having conversations with leaders to help them understand the narrative and the language that they need in their toolbox so that when they're having conversations, they're feeling really well informed. So lots goes unseen. But I think to be authentic, it is listening to your people. Yeah, so asking questions and listening to your people and use your employee resource groups, so your ERGs, to get that dialogue going. Listen to your people and then think about what's the systemic change that you can make to make it better. It's not always about having a banner up or a flag up or doing this. For me, lots of that is ticking boxes, but actually changing the policy so that the bias is removed and it's fair and equitable for everybody is about authenticity in the D&I space.
Amazing. And if I can just follow up on that, because I think you and I have both kind of alluded to the current state of affairs in some parts of the world right now, and I guess authenticity is key. Where do you think that balance is? And forgive me, because I don't know if I know the answer to this, but where do you think that balance is between staying true to our values and our compass and having to deal with a political environment that is pushing back, I guess, on a lot of inclusion initiatives?
Yeah. And it's a really good question. I think some of it is around we can't lose our way. Yeah. You've got to stay true to your compass and stay true to where your compass direction is. And that's all going to be different. Yeah. We're all going to have different true north. Yeah. But I think it is around recognizing that I work in a sector where, we're a company that needs to make money. So we employ, just under 9,000 people. We need to pay those people and return a profit on our shares to our shareholders. So we have to recognize that we are there to make money. We have to recognize that across 25 plus countries, there's different geopolitical currents that are going on. But actually, if we stay true to our North Star or our true north, actually these things are important to us. Now, having talent in your organization that mirrors the communities that you operate in, but also mirrors your customers and your supply. Where we sit, we have B2B and customers. So supplying to us and our customers that we sell to, if we mirror those suppliers and customers, actually we've got a more competitive edge. So it makes economic sense. So our customers and our suppliers are not homogenous robots. Actually, they're also recruiting from the communities that they operate within. So I think it is, understanding, yes, we are here to make money. Yeah, we operate in a number of different countries with different legislations and everything else, but let's not lose what's important to us and our values. And actually, employing talent that's diverse actually gives us a really strong competitive edge, and it makes economic sense to do it.
Amazing.
And that was a curveball question.
I was a good one, but I was just listening to what you were saying, and it's such an interesting and challenging time. But I'm going to hit my button here. Yes, inclusion.
I love it. Yes.
For me, because it is about staying true to our values and standing strong with them and understanding that it makes business sense to respect our customers to have diverse talent within our organisations.
Yeah.
That's a double yes for me. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
What advice do you have for an organisation who maybe is in an early stage of implementing disability inclusion in their workplace?
Yeah. So a couple of pieces, actually. I think the first piece is don't take on too much. Yeah, do two to three things really well. Yeah. Let me backtrack. Let's start again. Go and ask the questions actually of the community. What do they want? What do they need? What are we not doing well? What do I need to change? What do I need to evolve first? Yeah. Then pick out of that. They might have a very long list. So pick out of it and say, great, we can do 2 or 3 things. Let's prioritize them together and do those 2 or 3 things really well. And then I think it is around communicating those things back. So you've got to have that loop of listening and feeding back a response to what they've asked. So you said you wanted this, but if they don't get it back or see it back, then they don't know that you've listened. So I think it is ask the questions through your ERG or through your listening survey. As I said, you may get a long list. So prioritize that list and then work together to implement that change. And some of it will be, as we said, the unsexy stuff, the stuff you don't see, which is policy change or behavioural change that needs to happen. And we know behavioural change takes a lot longer than changing a policy. So you've got to work on that and consistently work on that. But do 2 or 3 things really well.
Yes, I'm going to have to do it again.
Woohoo!
Yes, inclusion.
I'm loving this yes button.
I need to, but again, it's that listen to the community and feedback. Don't leave it open.
Yeah.
Ended conversation has to be. People need to be heard and communicated effectively and accessibly so that real change can be seen and measured. So thank you.
It's all right.
For that. What does it mean to be an inclusive leader in today's ED&I sphere?
I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit, haven't we? Because I think it is, again, a really tough environment right now to be a leader who openly shows their allyship, but also to sit in the kind of chair that I sit in on a daily basis. And I know, kind of talking to peers across different sectors and different organisations here in the UK and abroad, actually there's a fair bit of backlash right now. So I think it is, again, staying true to yourself, staying true to your values, and hopefully you're working in a company where your personal values align with the company values. I think that's really important. But I think it is, realizing that this is, the role's not easy. Yeah, it takes kind of every day, lots of resilience. I think, to stay in this role. And I think too, Adam, it's around, I think it's the values piece. It's staying true to yourself, staying true to the values, staying true to why it's really important to you to do that job. But then also, I think part of it is using a bit of a peer network to be able to collaborate and also share that sometimes I've got to dig really deep to be resilient every day to keep kind of getting knocked back on, we want to do this, no you can't, you want to do that, no that doesn't work, this doesn't work, and just having that network of people to help you move that forward as well.
Thank you so much. Do you think that organisations need to get everything right on their disability inclusion before actively recruiting for disabled talent?
Yeah, I think we all need to do more to recruit disabled talent. And I think part of it is how do we connect with the community? How do we support disabled talent in our organisations? And so I think some of the things we've been doing with Evenbreak is understanding where we can get better, understanding how we not only support, I think, disabled talent, whether that's visible or non-visible, whether it's neurodivergent, whether it is around mental health, whatever it is in terms of a barrier that stops you progressing, or that a barrier that actually we need to help support you with on a daily basis so you can thrive and do your job well. So I think for us, we need to make sure that we're an employer where people want to come and work for us. I think we need to help support our line managers so that they can understand what they need to do and how they need to adapt as managers, and the team needs to adapt to help support disabled talent. And then I think we need to think about, like working with Evenbreak, where we can learn, where we can kind of come in and ask questions and go, actually, we don't know what we're doing in this space. How do we learn? How do we grow? What do we need to do? It's okay not to know all the answers. It's okay to go and ask for help. It's okay to say to somebody, actually, I think we've got it wrong. We made a mistake. And how do we unpick that, and how do we fix it to take it forward? So I think it's really important that you're vulnerable, that you're, you've got humility in that space as well, to say, actually, I don't always know what I'm doing, and we need some help, and we make mistakes. But the long-term impact and effect should be a really positive one, where you're getting more disabled talent in the door and they're feeling that they can stay and thrive and get development, and actually the organisation is better off as a whole.
I love that. Humility is key to good leadership. It always needs to be there. For example, conclusive. I think what you've just demonstrated quite rightly is that we can't wait to get everything in order and everything perfect before we start recruiting the talent. We need to include them now. And even if we don't know the answers to everything, give us the opportunity to learn and get better.
Well, I think too, Adam, it's around, actually, if you've got the disabled talent there in the organisation, they can help you build it. So take their input and take their advice and actually work together to build something that's better and more sustainable as you go forward as well.
Indeed. So Jess, you're recently named in as an inclusive leader in the DI Leaders List, which is a phenomenal achievement.
Thank you.
We know why this is. But why do you think your peers and your colleagues voted for you?
Saving hard ones for last now. I would like to say that I think they probably voted for me because for me it is around just the everyday allyship. It is around being authentic and being vulnerable enough to go, actually, I don't know much in this space, but I'm willing to sit here and listen and learn, and that you're authentic to it. You do it on a daily basis. It's not when somebody's watching, it's when nobody's watching that you do it. And I think that's really important. And that's core to my values and what I teach my children. So I'm hoping that's why that they nominated me for it.
I love that. Thank you. And again, such an achievement to be named and what is in that list. It's amazing. What is next for disability inclusion at RS Group?
Well, lots with Evenbreak, which is exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, really excited about that, because we realise that actually what Jane created and the team is now building, actually we can learn from and we need at RS. So I think it's phenomenal that we're getting to partner together. I think also we're really looking in the neurodivergent space, and so really trying to understand what is it that we as an organisation need to do and create so that people can thrive and they don't have to mask at work. My daughter is autistic, and so I know what it's like for her to mask every day at school. And so actually we want to create an environment where people don't have to do that at work, where they can be themselves, because we know that's how we're going to get the best out of them. So I think for us, it is listening and learning from Evenbreak, understanding what we need to get better at. Looking at learning for our managers is absolutely key. They're the people who are looking after our talent, and they themselves need their manager, etc. It's that trickle down effect. And also helping our very senior leaders, so the people at the very top of the organisation, understanding. And so learning at that very top point, learning for our line managers who have the most impact, because the old expression, isn't it? You don't leave a brand, you leave your manager. And if that person doesn't learn and lean in and understand that they've got a diverse team, then people get up and leave, and that's what we don't want. And then as I said, leveraging what Evenbreak are helping us learn about and grow from there.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see that and see it flourishing and see the impact that will make. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, it is exciting. And it benefits everybody. It benefits everybody, and I think that's the really exciting piece for us.
Amazing. Right, as our listeners will know, we have another feature on every episode of Include Now, which is Beyond the Buzzword, and this is where we get really, upfront about words that are used and bandied around, and I think a lot of the time these words and phrases can mean everything, can mean nothing, and the value and meaning can get changed and distorted or used effectively and authentically. So, although it's beyond the buzzword, it's going to be beyond the buzzwords in today's subject. And that is, we often hear a sentence like, we're all a little bit neurodivergent. Why is this so problematic, and how can we respond to this kind of almost throwaway comment?
Yeah, and people use it as a throwaway comment, and it's just not right. So I'm going to rope my daughter in here, who's 10. And as I said, she is autistic. She was diagnosed about 2 years ago, Adam, and is in year 6 at school. And a little bit, she is brave and courageous and bold and knows exactly who she is, but she masks every day at school. And I see her walk out of school, and her whole physiology changes as she walks out, and she's now comfortable. She doesn't have to mask. She's with mum, and it's a safe space. But if I rewind, World Book Day, I want to say the 7th of March this year, I think it fell. She's a bookworm. She could read a book a day. And so World Book Day is coming around. She's been planning this since September, when she went back into year 6, of what she's going to wear on World Book Day. And there's an author, Ella McNichol, who is autistic herself, and the protagonist in her books are autistic. And so Matilda reads her books, and there's a book called Keedy. And so Matilda wanted to go as the protagonist in the book. And so she's all dressed up, but on the way home, the outfit had on and had lots of badges about I'm neurodivergent, I'm autistic, and all these things on her jacket. And as we were walking home, one of our neighbours stopped us and said, oh, it's Well Book Day, I love to read too, what book did you go as, etc. And as a throwaway comment, the neighbour said, oh, aren't we all a little bit neurodivergent? And my 10-year-old turned around and said, no, we're not. She said, I am diagnosed as autistic. And she said, that means my brain works very differently to yours. She said, you're neurotypical, I imagine. And she said, but I am not. And she said, I am autistic. And she said, and there are ways that we are diagnosed to let us know that our brain works differently, and that's okay. And I swelled with pride. I was like, here she is at 10 being able to answer this question or this throwaway comment better than I could. And I just think that's exactly right. No, we're not. And
I'm going to have to hit the button for Matilda.
Go for it. For Matilda.
Yes, inclusion. That is phenomenal. To be able to be in that space and push back against the society that is maybe not educated enough in this space, and to hold that space and identity, not only that, to do it after a day of masking. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was super proud of her, I must say. I was like, you know how your heart just kind of swells with pride, and I was nearly crying, and I was kind of smiling, and it was that mix of joy and just, so proud of her that she was able to, as you say, hold that space and go, no, we're not the same. And I have different challenges to you. We need to recognise that.
What a remarkable individual. We need more people like that in the world. Phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay, thank you.
Yes, sadly we've come to the end of our time already. I'm gusted out. I've loved our conversation, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your insights and expertise and experiences. Phenomenal conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Wow, it's such a powerful conversation, and so much to try and capture in a few closing remarks, but I think what is key here is to make sure we embed allyship into our day-to-day conversations, our day-to-day actions and interactions with colleagues. And also make sure that we are really normalising our conversation, making sure that we're not just doing it for highlights, but we're doing it when it's not seen at really level. And again, being curious, but ultimately, definitely being kind to create more inclusive spaces. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Include Now. And as always, please like, comment, share and subscribe. And until next time, Include Now.